Welcome back, Flare community. Today, we're going to talk over some recent news about Flare's infrastructure on how you can make proposals for the Songbird and the Flare network. As we know, eventually the Songbird and Flare network will become completely autonomous, a decentralized autonomous organization, and this will involve the community really pushing this innovation via various proposals on how the network evolves. So let's jump over to the Flare official account on Twitter, and we can see here governance details over testing on Songbird can be found right here in this GitHub repository. So before we actually jump into this, I would highly recommend watching this video up here, and this is my video on governance and how it all works, all of the different parameters and everything you need to know about voting on Flare. And I imagine it will be very similar for the Songbird network too. So I'm going to leave this linked above. Please feel free to check that out before we delve in. So here we have it, let's jump in. Now we can see here, this is the STP, Songbird Test Proposal 0, and let's have a look at some of this background information here. Songbird is the canary network for Flare. Prior to the launch of the Flare network, the protocols that make up Flare at inception are intended to be tested with Songbird. And we already know this. This is the FTSO, Flare Time Series Oracle, it's the state connector, and also the F asset system. After the launch of Flare, it is envisioned that Songbird will remain the long-term testing ground for upgrades to Flare. Changes to Flare will happen via a Flare Improvement Proposal, or FIP, process. This may result in Songbird Testing Proposals, or STPs, should such changes to Flare require testing on Songbird. Now here's the interesting bit. There are two different types of proposals on Songbird. The Songbird Testing Proposal, STPs, and this proposal system is the mechanism by which the initial protocols on Flare and then later ongoing upgrades to Flare can be tested. This is detailed below, and this is what we're going to be talking about a little today. But before we do, there is another type of governance system, and that is the Songbird Improvement Proposal, or SIP. The SIP governance module will become active after the launch of Flare. The proposal process will be elaborated prior to that event and will generally define how the change is made to Songbird. So this is something which we can look forward to in the near future. A SIP, or Songbird Improvement Proposal, that breaks compatibility with Flare's core protocols so as to make future testing of Flare improvement protocols impossible on Songbird, will automatically be rejected unless and until there is a SIP that specifically brings an end to the status of Songbird and Flare Canaries network. Now, that sentence there is very interesting, and they say here at the start that Songbird will be the long-term canary network for Flare. But as we know, both of these will actually become decentralized autonomous organizations, and that means it's the community which will vote for what they see fit. Obviously, there are going to be changes on both networks, and if they deviate too much, then Songbird will no longer act as a canary network for Flare because the networks will become too different. Naturally, while Songbird remains Flare's canary network, this reduces the set of potential changes that can be made to Songbird. So the changes to Songbird will be somewhat restricted while it is the Flare's canary network. And I think this is the best case scenario in my opinion, because a canary network is obviously very beneficial. It allows developers to iron out any of the bugs on this somewhat experimental network before transferring them and merging them into the main network, Flare. It's just a very interesting concept to think that they could deviate and essentially become their own networks at one point in the future. Who knows what will happen? So moving down here, we can see the STP purpose. The purpose of the STP structure is to allow governance to be exercised by Songbird token holders over changes that are extremely unpopular, whilst at the same time not limiting the utility of Songbird for testing. In order to achieve this, STPs will be implemented automatically unless they are rejected with a high threshold. Now let's talk about the pre-Flare launch. Prior to the launch of Flare, the simplified Songbird governance process will be as follows. An STP will be uploaded by the Foundation to this repo here, or this repository. Voters may delegate their votes at any time up to the deadline. The vote power for calculation will be determined at a random chosen block per proposal. Third and finally, the proposal automatically passes and is implemented if less than 75% of Songbird token free float opposes the proposal. So let's talk about the post-Flare launch, because things are actually going to change. Post the launch of Flare, the procedure will remain identical from the vantage point of Songbird, except that step 1 above will be precipitated by the FIP process. And yes, we have this definition here of what a free float is, and that is all of the Songbird tokens that is not held by the Flare Foundation. So the Flare Foundation are not going to have any influence on these particular decisions. For those who are interested in making a proposal, here's what you're going to need. A table detailing the number, the title, status type, author, and date, a brief description, a technical description, a link to the code repository, a link to audit report if applicable, bug bounty information, proposed implementation date range, voting contract details, and finally the deadline for voting. So that basically summarizes the Songbird Test Proposal System, and I think it's very exciting, and it's really great to see how this network is going to evolve to be really run by the community. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and as I said before, please feel free to check out the governance vote video I linked earlier. Have yourselves a great week, and until next time, I'm out.
Mission Control, we have liftoff.